everybody. Good morning. It's good to see all of you here. Hooray, we got all of our online systems back up and running. But now another wrench is thrown into things for just today. I've been sick this week and was waiting results from a COVID test just to be sure. And just found out this morning that it's not COVID. Sorry, it's not COVID. It's just a really wicked cold. So I'm coming to you today from my basement, and I want to shout a public thank you to everybody who is going to make in-person worship at the church building happen this morning in a way that makes sense. And so I'm glad you're here. It's good to see all of you. We'll be hopefully back to normal next week. Yeah, no, it's not COVID. This is the first time I personally have needed to get a test because I was sick and wondered what was going on. And I'll tell you what, I didn't like it. It was really hard. And so for those of you who have needed to get tests several times in this last time, the wondering and the waiting, it's okay, Sue, I'll be all right. The wondering and the waiting is really hard. So let's just all keep praying for each other and caring for each other through this whole time. I want to share with you something really important. I have this realization that for those of you who join online every week or a lot of weeks or most weeks, you don't get the benefit of seeing, quote, the bulletin, and quote, that we see on Sunday mornings in person. And so some of the announcements you might miss. So we make these slides that we show all before this, and we show at the end too. But if you don't want to watch 3 minutes of slides or just only see part of it, you might not know what's going on. So I want to show you something. We've started to do something a little differently. If you go to our website, and whoops, the address is right here, there, coonrapidsumc.org, there's a button, hi Karen, there's a button right on the front of the page, and it looks just like this. It says Announcements and Links, September 26, 2021. And hopefully, if technology works the way we want it to, we'll update that every single Sunday with what is currently in the bulletin if you were in person, so you can see what's happening. And you can be a part of the new things that are going on, or even the current things that are going on. You may not realize what's happening in our building. We have all sorts of stuff. We have a grief group gathering. We have Bible studies. We have basketball on Thursday nights. We have upcoming events where we're going to be serving at every meal in Roseville. And actually, we need a lot more people. Michael already shared the link to that in the chat, but you can actually find it if you go to this page right at our website. Hi, Erin. Good morning to you, too. So I encourage you to frequent coonrapidsumc.org, and you'll be able to access our announcements and links. So I also want to say, go to the staff page. You'll be able to see a picture of the staff that we currently have at the church now, because the way our weird system is, we haven't all met each other. And so you will have never met Kat, who has stepped into our role as office administrator. Kat cares for her mother-in-law on Sunday mornings. And so I just encourage you to go online, see her picture, send her an email greeting. You can also see who this Michael guy is who keeps sharing on Sunday mornings and how he helps us and all of that. So I encourage you to frequent our website. But as we go into this time this morning, I do want you to know that I'm praying for all of you, and we're praying for each other, and we're praying for the systems in our world that are so disrupted right now. All the big things. We'll be talking more about these big things, seeing our current situation through the lens of the Bible for coming weeks, because many Bible stories have different relevancy right now. You see them from a different light, considering where we have all been together. In the last few weeks, months, and couple of years. So I would encourage you to stay with us today. And this morning you're going to hear a message from one of the best. Her name's Cindy Gregerson, Reverend Cindy Gregerson, and she is, I don't know her current title, it's changed, but she is very important to the United Methodist Church in Minnesota overall, and has been a wonderful mentor to me for these last years. I just really, really respect and value her words. She's willing to think of things in new ways all of the time. She's going to preach a sermon to you this morning. It is recorded, but please watch it. It's just brilliant and beautiful. And it talks about this story in the Bible, in the book of Luke, about a woman who is suffering from like what sounds like a posture issue. But listen to how Cindy thinks about it. It's much broader than her posture. And I think it is so relevant as we are so tired of all of this and so wondering how it's going to go in the future. Please check in with Cindy's sermon. If anything strikes you and is relevant to you during the message, share it in the chat. And I might interrupt her sermon if I can make sure I know how and make sure you catch a few really important things. Anyway, here's Reverend Cindy Gregerson. Listen to her message. It's beautiful today.
It's a small story. 7 verses in total, tucked into the book of Luke in the middle of a bunch of parables. Chapter 13, starting at verse 10. Now Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath. And just then there appeared a woman with a spirit that had crippled her for 18 years. She was bent over and quite unable to stand straight. There is a whole story behind that one statement. Don't you just want to know more? Who is this woman? What caused her to be bent over? 18 years? That's a long time. Was it painful? Had she given up hope of ever standing up straight again? How did she navigate life from that bent over stance? We all get bent by life. Perhaps it's an illness or an ailment that permanently changes our body. Perhaps we experienced a tragic accident from which we will never be the same. Or maybe it's the shock of another kind of loss, the loss of a loved one, the loss of a job or dream, a divorce, something that leaves us devastated and bent over from the weight of grief. We all get bent by life. The body keeps score, to quote the title of a book by Bessel van der Kolk. However, what shows up in our body is not always the result of a physical ailment. What did the text say about how the woman came to be bent over? A woman with a spirit that had crippled her. There was a spirit, either within her or outside her, but definitely affecting her, that was causing her to be weighed down, kept down, bent over, perhaps as a result of protecting her vulnerable self, staying smaller and less than, maybe so that the eyes of the world did not take notice of her and do more harm. We don't know. All we do know is that there is something more going on here than a spine that cannot straighten. We have all come through a year plus of collective trauma. I have been surprised by how many nights COVID dominated my dreams. I would wake up and tell myself, you're safe, you're fine, you're letting your imagination get the best of you. And the next night, the dreams would come again. I thought I was managing okay, but my dreams were telling me what I was really feeling. I am not in control, and this just keeps coming at you. Where are you bent over in your life? What spirit has a hold on you, keeping you less than? Maybe it's a voice of fear. It's scary and too risky out there to show my full self. Or maybe it's a voice of shame, telling you you're not good enough, not worthy of love and belonging. Maybe that voice started as an external one, a parent's love that was so conditional, you can never live up to its demands. Maybe there's abuse or violence in your past that not only did damage to your body, but wounded your soul. Or perhaps it's a societal voice. You are categorized, stereotyped, living in a world where the rules have been set up to deem some as less than others. And because of your skin color or gender identity, you have discovered the world to be a dangerous place. Or maybe you're bent over because you've been trapped by expectations and inherited patterns that you don't want to keep anymore. Who says the one with the most toys wins? And power is zero-sum, so you better not share yours lest you find yourself trodden upon. And change is incremental, so you have to be patient. Maybe you don't want to play that game anymore, but you don't know how to break free. And so we live with it for a long, long time. And over time, it gets more and more painful. And so then we self-medicate to get through. The quarantine 15, the once-a-week glass of wine that becomes a daily 2 or 3 glasses, binge-watching show after show. Or maybe it all goes external. We get angry and start lashing out because of our pain. Or the pain goes inward and turns into depression and despair. The result? Hunched shoulders, weary, getting through life. But what kind of life? Where are you bent over? And are you tired of it? Do you long to be released from it? She was bent over and was quite unable to stand up straight. When Jesus saw her, he called her over and said, "Woman, you are set free from your ailment." When he laid hands on her, immediately she stood up straight and began praising God. Jesus saw her. This is the pivotal point in the story. Jesus is teaching in the synagogue. He's seated. There's probably a crowd. He's most likely in the teaching, preaching zone. I've been there, so focused on what you're saying, you sense the crowd, but you don't necessarily see them. And if you see them, and you happen to see their face and body, you still don't really see them, what's really going on inside of them. But Jesus sees her. Somehow, she who could so easily be unseen, a woman in a society where women are property, a woman who has some sort of disability where people try not to look, not to stare, but Jesus looks. He sees her. And more than that, he stops his teaching to call her over. Awkward. There had to be so much going through her mind in that brief moment. What is she thinking and feeling? Did she come looking for healing and was glad to be noticed and eager to come to Jesus? Or did she want to slip in, not draw attention to herself, wanting to see Jesus, but not wanting Jesus to see her shame, her spirit, her outcast status in society? How is Jesus looking at her that draws her to him? Is he looking at her with eyes full of love and compassion? Is there something magnetic about his presence that she forgets what has held her back all these years and she goes to him? Is she hopeful? Is she scared? Is she uncertain if she wants him to get too close? Because what if he sees too much? We live with our secrets, don't we? We think we're getting by. We put on a good front that we're doing okay. I'm fine, just fine, perfectly fine. But we know how bent over we are, broken by the weight of what we've had to endure in life. Goodness sake, just what we've had to endure in this past year. But Jesus sees us. And what does Jesus see? I think he sees our divine spark, the beauty, giftedness, and belovedness of who we were created to be. I think Jesus looks deep within and sees that newborn baby full of innocence, unscarred by life, and the toddler that is so curious and open to possibility, and the child rushing head first into the world, believing the world is there for them until they learn otherwise. I think that is what it means for Jesus to look at us with eyes of love. He looks deep within our soul and invites us to remember that person within, and to shed all that which has been added on over the years but is not our true self, keeping us from living with a sense of purpose and joy. Is all of that going on in those few moments when Jesus and the woman lock eyes and she hears the words, "Woman, you are free from your ailment. It does not define you anymore. It does not have to be yours. You are released from this pain, whatever is holding you down." Is that how Jesus makes a way? He sees us, all of us, with a heart of mercy, grace, and compassion. He sees us with a love that will not let us go, will not give up on us, will not leave us trapped by whatever has caught us caught up and bound up. He speaks our name with such love and invites us to believe something different about ourselves, no matter how loud our inner critic or the forces of the world that would keep us down. He says, "You are set free." In that moment, the woman has a choice: to believe what Jesus is telling her is true, to believe that's more true than the reality she has been living for the past 18 years. That's a tough step. The mind is a powerful thing. I mean, stuff happens, right? Hard things, terrible things. We've all had our share of suffering. Yeah, certainly some more than others, but to live is to be wounded. But what can be even more challenging is the story we tell ourselves about that wounding and who we are because of it, or the story we get told about who we are that we have heard over and over, so we start to believe it. that story can be stronger in shaping our existence than what actually happened to us. It was the spirit that was crippling this woman. What was the story she had bought into or was telling herself? Which story, which reality was she going to anchor her life in? What was happening in that moment? Is that what Jesus was doing, was opening a door, inviting her to see herself differently? And now she had a choice to walk through and claim her freedom or stay as she was. When he laid hands on her, immediately she stood up straight and began praising God. Jesus makes a way by planting a new spirit within us, one that allows us to dream, to persevere, to reframe our challenges into something that may mark us but does not define us. He gives us agency and voice. We are empowered. We are seen, fully loved. And we are called into something new to embrace our belovedness and dare to live that life. And if the story ended there, it would be a beautiful story, a miracle story to be sure. But it wouldn't be enough. Because the forces of this world are strong, and not everyone in it gets a fair shake. And there are systems and people invested in the power they have in those systems. So while we can find that voice to speak out, and we can hang on to our identity in spite of the barrage of assault that gets daily, we shouldn't have to fight for it each and every day. It should be a given. Jesus knows that. And so the story continues. As soon as Jesus sees, includes, and names this woman as worthy of love and healing, there is an immediate reaction. The leader of the synagogue, indignant because Jesus had cured on the Sabbath, kept saying to the crowd, "There are 6 days on which work ought to be done. Come on those days and be cured, and not on the Sabbath." So what he's saying is, there are rules here, and rules are meant to be followed. Who is she that makes her worthy of breaking these rules? And after 18 years, really, what's one more day? And who is Jesus to question these rules? I mean, he was raised in the synagogue. He should know better. But the Lord answered him and said, "You hypocrites! Does not each of you on the Sabbath untie his ox or his donkey from the manger and lead it away to give it water? And ought not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has bound for 18 long years, be set free from this bondage on the Sabbath day?" When he said all this, his opponents were put to shame, and the entire crowd was rejoicing at all the wonderful things he was doing. So what was Jesus doing? He was bringing the people society had placed on the edge to the center. The woman bent over, he names as a daughter of Abraham. He puts her on equal footing with the leader of the synagogue, who would have taken pride in his identity as a son of Abraham. Jesus is saying this woman is equal in importance. And just as Jesus calls out the spirit of the woman that was keeping her bent over, he calls out the injustice and the hypocrisy in the rules and laws that was keeping her unseen and preventing her access to healing. Jesus makes a way not only by seeing us, but by helping us to see where we have made rules that don't line up with God's way. A way that is always about people first. A way of life that does not burden people and keep them weighed down, but rather releases them and frees them. That's about their thriving and living in such a way that all people, all creation can flourish. This is what the Sabbath was created for. To help us to be able to see, name, claim, and rest in God's goodness, which is our goodness. And this is a gift. We don't have to work for it. We don't have to earn it. It's not something we get by how well we play the game and keep the rules. That was pretty shocking to the ears of the leaders. And let's face it, it's still pretty shocking now. It upends a lot of what we've been taught and invested in. But it comes as good news to the people gathered. There's a lot of rejoicing going on because they hear, perhaps for the very first time, that they are the point of the story, that Jesus is here for them. "I came so that you may have life and have it abundantly. For God so loved the world that God sent God's one and only Son, not so that we would die, but that we would live. Keep company with me, and you will learn to live lightly and freely." So religion in the ways that it was being practiced in Jesus' time, had become binding, an obligation, and it was keeping people bent over. So many rules, so many laws. Jesus called it out. This religion was not the way to life. He, Jesus, in contrast, was the embodiment of God's way. And this way of Jesus was about mending, healing, reconnecting, and recovering our lost sense of self to the true source of love and life. This Jesus implies when he chastises the leader of the synagogue, this is what religion is supposed to be about. This Jesus way, this way is about kingdom parties, and it calls in people. It calls in tax collectors. Zacchaeus come down from that tree. It calls in Samaritans. Women, what I have to offer to you is living water. It unbinds the dead. Lazarus, come out. It heals the sick. Women, your faith has made you well. It says everyone has a place at the table. It upends the social structures of the day. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. And most of all, it is rooted in grace, God's unmerited favor. We can squander it all away, we can turn our back on it, and God will still be out there searching and looking for us. And the moment we turn towards God, what do we see? Love. Arms outstretched, running toward us, and calling for a party to commence. Let's eat and celebrate, for this son, daughter of mine was lost and now is found. Love is the way. And when we lose sight of that, we lose our way. Friends, we are at a crossroads in so many ways. My soul hurts from the events of this past year. A bruising political election, watching children and families at a border longing for a better life, fighting over masks as our basic God-given right, almost daily mass shootings this spring, another and another and another senseless death of a black man by a police officer who was sworn to serve and protect. That's just to name a few things that have been weighing me down. And then, of course, there's our church that has been fighting far too long about the nature of religion, who's in, who's out, what ought to be our doctrine and polity and moral action. In the meantime, the world is weeping, crying out in pain, looking for hope and a way. The good news? God is not done. Jesus, the one who God sent, sees us in all our bent-over condition, and he calls to us and offers to us a different life, a different way to be the church, a different way to be the world. Do we want it? Will we take it? Will we believe it? Will we allow God's love to change us, free us for a new way of life? That is the question. Jesus says, if you are looking for a way that leads to life, I am that way. Come, follow me. We don't know what happens to the woman after her encounter with Jesus, but we get a clue in what Jesus does next. He goes back to his teaching. And what does he teach about? A tiny mustard seed that becomes a giant plant, a small pinch of yeast that leavens a whole loaf. This too, he says, is the kingdom reality. Lives lived in the way of love, though they may seem ordinary, have an outsized kingdom impact. When we choose to stand up straight, claiming our full dignity, our goodness, our giftedness, and put that out into the world, God uses it and multiplies it, and it changes the world. I don't know the impact of the woman healed by Jesus, but let me leave you with another small story closer to home about what this way of love looks like and the difference it can make. You may know his name, Zach Sobiech, and you may have heard his song, Clouds, but you may not know all this. In 2009, Zach Sobiech, who lived in Stillwater, Minnesota, is diagnosed with osteosarcoma at 14 years of age. He begins chemotherapy. In 2012, Zach's hip begins to hurt again. The cancer has spread to his pelvis and lungs. Zach and his family are told that he has 6 months to live. A 17-year-old in a bent-over body, to be sure. But how does Zach see himself? He says, I want to be remembered as the kid who went down fighting and didn't really lose. He decides to write a series of songs to say goodbye to friends and family, the most famous of which is Clouds. And in that same year, the Zach Zobiak Osteosarcoma Research Fund is established at Children's Cancer Research Fund. In December of 2012, Clouds is played on the radio for the first time and the video goes viral, garnering over 2 million hits. In February of 2013, Soul Pancake makes a documentary of Zach's last days, telling his story to the world. In May of that year, Zach dies at age 18 of osteosarcoma. Clouds hits #1 on iTunes. In June, Zach's family meet with the researchers for the first time and present a check for $500,000 raised through Zach's music and donations. Zach's mom, Laura, goes on to write and release a book, Fly a Little Higher, about their journey with Zach. And in September of 2015, Zach's fund reaches $1 million. In 2018, researchers at the University of Minnesota, funded by Zach's fund, identified a genetic biomarker and began a study to target the gene that causes osteosarcoma to flourish. Research funded by Zach's fund creates 15 new discoveries about the genetics of osteosarcoma and starts a national clinical trial. In 2019, a researcher begins work to develop a blood test to help doctors decide how to better treat osteosarcoma. Clouds Choir for a Cause raises over $100,000 for Zach's fund. Thousands gather at the Mall of America to sing Clouds, including Zach's family and the movie cast and director for the upcoming movie Clouds. And in 2020, the movie of Zach's life, Clouds, is released for streaming on Disney Plus to an even wider audience. Today, total dollars raised to date for Zach Zobiak's the Osteosarcoma Fund, $2,547,759. A teenager in Stillwater dealt a really devastating blow that could leave him bent over, and he certainly had his moments of despair and grief. But he let love be his story. He claimed his voice. He shared his gifts. And while cancer, yes, was ravaging his body, his spirit was strong. Choosing the way of love, it not only changed him, it continues to change the world. This is what is possible when we let Jesus see us, all of us, and we choose to see as Jesus sees. So, my friends, what are we waiting for? Jesus is calling. Come, follow me. This is the way to life.
I love Cindy's preaching. What a beautiful message today. Just a reminder that when you and I are seen by Jesus and when we choose the way of love that Jesus brings to us, we don't just change our lives. We don't just learn to lift our heads from the weight that holds us down. We change the world. We're a part of the action that brings the kingdom alive in this place, that helps people to know God and to know they are loved by God. I find that amazing, and I'm thankful for Cindy's message today about that woman who deeply needed healing. I want you to consider something. No one is exempt from needing healing. Even if you're fully healed right now, if you're going to live in this world much longer, at some point the weight of something is going to weigh heavy on you again. This is a tough time. And so the weight of things, the pressure, creates a lot of trouble and anxiety all the time. We constantly need to be looking to lock eyes with Jesus. Constantly, every day, spending time considering the goodness of God, the greatness of grace, and the power of His might. We can stand strong and straight. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. I hope this message has been meaningful. I trust that I will feel better next Sunday and be back again with you, of course, live online in my office probably, and I'll also be on site at the church. So please continue to share your prayer concerns with us and keep in touch. And just a reminder, go to our website, coonrapidsumc.org. It's right down, in that corner. And check out what's happening this week at the church. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. We're going to sing a song together. Are you ready? You're going to love this song. Please sing. Lift your heads, friends. Lift your face to the rising sun and watch for your eyes to lock with Jesus. This healing, this salvation, I'm convinced, it's not just for later, it's for now. And we can be a part of it in this world. So good to see all of you. Keep commenting and sharing. Love to see you. Love to catch up with you. Make sure you check out the announcement page. You can find the button to it on the front of Facebook. We need more people to serve at every meal this coming week on Thursday, and there's a link to sign up. So look forward to seeing you all again soon. Please take care and much love. I'll be praying for you, and I'll be better soon. Talk to you soon. Love you guys. Bye.